You're watching PEGRI TV, Rhode Island's public access channel.
Well, hello, this is Pastor Shirley Hood coming to you on a new episode of Reflections TV, sponsored by the Peace, Love, Judah Jam Festival. We are so excited on today. Why? Because we are preparing for a great festival to come that we're initially going to do in person on September 10th, 2022. This is all going to take place at the Ottomani Central Park Playground, located in East Providence, Rhode Island, where we are going to bring awareness to good health over COVID, according to Jeremiah 33:6. On this special edition of Reflections TV series, we're going to sit with nutritionist expert Tekesha Williams, how she's going to provide us some elements on how we need to eat better, be happier in what we're eating, so that we can live a long-lasting life. As I was doing my statistics, it was surveyed that 62% farm households are going through the struggle since COVID-19 when it occurred in 2020. And on today, we are going to be provided with resourceful information that you and your family needs to know. So on this special edition of Reflections TV, tune in, watch, be inspired, be in touch of what our expert, Takisha Williams, is going to bring. God bless.
Hello and welcome. I am Coach TK, and today we are talking about a holistic approach to eating and nutrition after COVID. So let's jump right into it, right? Because I think what COVID did a very good job of was letting the world know that the things we believed to be sound, stable, secure, they really weren't. And so as a result, I think that COVID did a very good job of making most of the world be open to doing things a new way, or open to doing things a different way, right? And so when we're talking about nutrition and eating, really the same things that used to work are the same things that work now. But I think people are ready to focus on quality. We want to cut out the noise of the trends and the fads, and we want to get to the heart of what's real. So that's what we're going to discuss today.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to a new episode of Reflections TV, where I am your pastor, Pastor Shirley Hood. We are so excited on today. Yes, very excited. Listen, this is our second episode of Good Health Over COVID TV series, sponsored by the Peace, Love, Judah Jam Festival. Listen, last month, which was our first episode, was Mental Health with Dr. Laverne Mosley. Now on today, listen, on this episode, we are going to be sitting with motivational speaker, life coach Takisha Williams, who is going to bring us insight on how we need to eat better during COVID. Listen, you don't want to miss this episode to come. Listen, I also want you to stay tuned. Stay tuned, y'all, because next month we are going to have financial coach Shay Lawson, who is going to bring us valuable information on how we should save money. Oh my God, that's a big deal in my household. I don't know about your household, but she's going to bring us financial tips on how we need to stay current with our finances. But without any further ado, I would like to introduce to you our friend, my sister in Christ, Tekesha Williams. Takisha, it is so exciting for you to be on this episode of Reflections TV series.
Yes.
We're talking about good health over COVID. We know that for the past couple of years, we had endured this pandemic. We had lost a lot of our loved ones due to COVID, family, friends alike. But we also been trying to, during quarantine, how we was eating. So, I watched the Today Show, and that's one of my favorite shows, and they was talking about how most folks are trying to eat better, exercise, and that is happening more frequent. So when God gave me this series about good health over COVID, it was my initial request to bring in some experts who can specialize in these particular areas, especially with you doing this fine work that God has called her to. So let me introduce y'all what this woman of God does. Listen, she is a life coach, as I stated, motivational speaker under Train Your Tempo LLC. She's going to get to that. But Takisha, tell us, how did you get started doing this great work? What inspired you to do this great work?
Yes. So first of all, I'm glad to be here. Thank you for having me. And I love what you're doing. This is amazing because it is something we need to know, right? Treating the whole person, getting healthy again, especially after this thing that has shaken the whole world up. So how I got started was really because of my younger sister and my younger brother. They'll laugh when they see this, but my younger sister wanted to play softball. A flyer came to our house and she wanted me to try out with her, and it turned into like this whole thing that went from me playing Little League to playing multiple sports in high school, playing multiple sports in college. And in college, I became more interested in the fitness and like the rehabilitation side of the human body. But then that even more, right, developed into me really having this love for the person and the person being healthy. And so when I was in physical therapy school, I was a personal trainer at this private gym, and I was a nutrition coach, and I literally did everything. I did everything for my clients. I would meal prep, write their meal plans, meal prep. They'd come in the gym to work out with me. I'm learning the trade of rehabilitation and physical therapy school. And so I would literally address every aspect of the person being healthy. And even though I laid everything out for them, they wouldn't change. And so that really got me into thinking like, okay, so what does it take for people to actually be healthy? What does it take for people to actually change their habits? And that's what like really dove me into the journey of understanding like our behavior, our thinking, what it takes to inspire change. And ultimately it led me to where I am now, into being I call myself a kingdom life and health coach, because everything that I teach my clients is all based on biblical principle. I'm not just coming out of nowhere with my information. This is like scripture. This is education. This is experience, my personal experience, and working with other people, right? Because we are called to be healthy. We're called to live lives where we have dominion over this earth. And so how sad would it be if that's what we're called to, but then really the hardships of the world end up taking dominion over us, right?
Yes.
That would be a tragedy, I guess, So that's really what got me into what I'm doing now.
So how has it impacted your life in terms of, now you say you help a lot of clients on how to eat better and how to live better, but how has this impacted your life? What was the turnaround for your life to do the same?
So full transparency, the turnaround in my life was after I had my first daughter. She was less than 1 year old, or maybe about to be 1. And my home, we're doing some renovations and the water went out. So we had no water, trying to figure out like what this plumbing issue was, no running water in the house. And so for a little while we were kind of like, scrapping, trying to make things work. So I remember coming home with like jugs of water, and we would heat the water so we could wash dishes, do what we had to do, right? And I remember that I went to get a gym membership at Planet Fitness because it was down the street from the house. And my thinking was, okay, I'll go so I can take a shower every day and, do what we needed to do. And it really turned into like a true application of everything I had learned. Now I have my daughter who drastically changed my body. And so I go from being this collegiate athlete and being this like healthy, this is my lifestyle. I'm a trainer, I'm a nutrition coach. I went from that being my lifestyle to now I am a mom and I work full-time in healthcare and I do like my business on the side.
Yes.
So I've had a baby. My house needs renovations. My water is run out, and I'm going to the gym every day to take a shower.
Wow.
Okay. This is where I'm at this point.
Yes.
And something was just like, I don't know if it was like the pride in me or what, but it was like, it's no way that I'm going to come to this gym every day and they're going to see me every day to take a shower and they're going to be like, oh, what's up with this girl?
Right.
My pride wouldn't let that happen. So it turned into just taking a shower every day to I would go and I would work out every day. And it made me be consistent because there was a conviction there. I needed to do it. I needed to, right? And that was a light bulb for me because God shifted something in my personal life to understand like there has to be a conviction as to why this is necessary. And when he did that for me, it changed everything. If I was going to go shower and work out and be on time for work every day, I wasn't going to let that be my priority and not be praying, reading, and seeking his face. So it made me start waking up earlier.
Wow.
Right? It's turned into a whole shift in my lifestyle. I started waking up early so that I could pray, so that I could read, so I could worship, and then go to the gym and then shower, right? It created this domino effect that changed how I thought, changed how I approached my day. And when he did that for me, I was able to explain other people how that was supposed to look.
Wow, it's so funny that you said that. When we had Dr. Laverne Mosley, who is a licensed psychologist, on the last episode, we was talking about, when a client comes in for a diagnosis, and when they meet with them, they ask them questions. They go into their medical history. And one of the questions is your mood, right? So that, I don't know why that blew my mind, but she said sometimes what we eat affects our mood.
Absolutely does.
So, which coincides with what you had said, because you found a routine that worked for you, right? All because you needed a shower.
Yep.
But it was so beneficial for you because I believe when you exercise, it benefits you so well.
It does.
And it changes the way you feel.
Yes, it does.
It changes your mood, right? So I think it's so vital that we need to be careful on what we take in.
Absolutely.
And so what is before we get into the questions, because me as a host of this show, what is it that it takes to get into that habit, a routine that we know that's going to be beneficial for our mind and body? What do you think?
Yeah, so there's really steps to it. First, you have to have a desire for it, right? You're not going to do it if you don't want to do it. And then there needs to be realistic expectations that are set, because how we learn and change as adults is wildly different than how we did as children, right? As children, our only responsibility in life was to figure out who we are, right? Our caregivers are supposed to be taking care of us and teaching us the world, but our only responsibility is to live and to learn, essentially. As adults, that's not our only responsibility. We are in charge of other things. Our plate is much more full. We come with a lifetime of knowledge and experiences now. So how we learn and change as adults is very different. We have to take into consideration all of that.
Wow.
So I think as adults, what happens when we want to change is we think we can approach it the way we've always approached it, which is, oh, I'm just going to do this thing,
Right.
and not realize that taking on a new thing
Yes.
is very big. And so if we approach it the wrong way, we can become overwhelmed very quickly, or feel like we don't have the time, or we don't have the money, or we lose the willpower.
Yes.
We have to set a realistic expectation that it takes time and it takes small, consistent effort to be successful at creating a change.
Wow, that's good. Y'all listen, this is good stuff. Good stuff. Now, I can sit and talk to her about this all day long. However, we want to answer the questions from our viewers, right? Because y'all tuned in, y'all wanted to know what was most important. So we got some questions from our viewers, Takisha. One of the first questions that our viewers asked is this. Can you suggest, now we realize that there is a shortage going on with the baby formula, and it is so sad because I work for an agency where WIC is a part of that agency, and a lot of mothers are looking for ways how to feed their child. So one viewer wrote in and they asked, can you suggest what formula, being an item, difficult for families to locate in our country? What would you have to say about that?
Yes. So, I mean, this is a very real issue. I mean, even that it's very close to my home, right? So I have a 1-year-old. She's no longer, drinking breast milk and supplementing with formula. She's drinking milk and eating food, but I have friends and family, right, who have new children. So it's a problem that's very close to home. And I sympathize and empathize with anyone who's dealing with the shortage crisis right now. The best thing to address a good formula that someone should take, it's going to be based off of 3 things. One thing does not work for everybody. So I would suggest, with that being the first thing, is to look at ingredients. Look at the ingredients. Good formulas are going to try to replicate breast milk, which means that milk and water, or lactose and water, should be the first 2 ingredients that are on the back of the can or the back of the box, okay? A lot of formulas that we see have a lot of artificial, like colorings, flavorings, or ingredients. So most important, you want to see that water and lactose are some of the first ingredients, because that means that they're in this product in the majority. They make up the majority of the ingredients, right? Ingredients are listed from what is contained in it the most to the least percentage. So that's one of the biggest things. And then the second thing I would say is look at the effect that it has on your child when you use it. Is it making their bowels more consistent? Is it making their bowels be loose? You want to look at the reaction it has in your son or daughter. So those are the 2 things. Check the ingredients. It should be milk and water as the very first ingredients. And then check what the pattern is it has in your child.
Wow, good question. Good question.
Great question.
Answer. Great answer. Here's another one that we got from our viewers. They asked, how would you advise them to supplement? Or more importantly, what would you advise not to do?
And this question is in regards to just people in general with supplements?
Yes.
Okay, so this is very similar to the formula question, because it comes down to addressing a need. It comes down to addressing a deficit.
Yes.
So first thing you want to look at is, are you already taking care of yourself by drinking water and eating the food you need to eat, right? Because supplements are exactly what their name says. They're a supplement. They're not a replacement. Okay? So you have to address first that you're drinking water and you're eating good quality food. And then from that, what is your need in addition to that? After you've eaten your food and you drank your water, what needs are you having? That is the supplement you want to look at, because you won't have too many supplements that you'll need to take, right? You'll notice that maybe you're just not getting in enough vegetables every day. You need a little help with that. So then you're going to look for a vegetable or a green supplement. Or maybe you notice you're eating what you can every day and you notice you're not getting in enough protein. Then you would be looking to address the need of a protein supplement, right? So then the second thing that you look at, again, is the quality of that supplement.
Wow.
Checking the ingredients, and are they certified by a third party for the quality and standard of their ingredients?
So why is it so hard for people? You know, I've noticed that. I've been around some of my friends and they said, I can't drink water. I know it's important. H2O is important, y'all.
It is. It's important.
And I struggle with that too. So, and everyone, you know, that I'm around, especially myself, it's hard to break that habit, drinking carbonated beverages. How do we try to drink water? Because we know it's very important for our bodies.
Very important.
How many, and ask this, because this is my question, and I know everybody wants to know too, like how many cups a day that we need to drink?
Yeah. So a good range that you want to look at is drinking at least about half your body weight in ounces worth of water. So if you weigh 180 pounds, you want to be aiming for at least 90 ounces of water per day. And this is based off of chemistry, that the formula H2O is a part of a lot of processes in your body. It makes up at least like 75 to 80% of your body. That's really why it's so important, is because it makes your functions thrive. It's the basis to your body functions. That's why it's so important to drink water. Now, I have lots of friends who don't like the taste of water also. Or they find it hard, like, to start off their day with water. They say, like, maybe the taste or the lack of taste, right, kind of makes them feel queasy or whatever the case is. So I would suggest, as with anything, you try to initiate the change in small doses or over time, or change like one small thing at a time. So let's say you don't like the taste of water. Maybe look to adding like a sugar-free flavor into it. So you swap out that one soda for a flavored water, at least, to start the process of getting more water in. And you can find a lot of water content in tea, in coffee. Look at beverages that their first ingredient is water, and try to start doing that, right? And just making that step to initiate the momentum. Because as you start taking more in, your body's gonna want more of it, just like with anything else.
Wow, this is good stuff, y'all. Good information. Now I realize now what I can do with water, because I'm not a water drinker. But I can definitely supplement it, and that is the key to being healthy. So we know for optimal health, it is also important to remember to eat healthy. Stay hydrated, just like we said, and who recommends drinking water instead of sugar-sweetened beverages, which is one of the things that, you know, you had mentioned, how important it is to stay focused on hydration, how important that is.
So hydration affects a lot. We have to look at the fact that water and oxygen are part of what make up our blood. And our blood is the transportation system that carries everything we need in it to our different body parts, right? And so without being hydrated, we're losing the quality of our blood, which is so important for us to survive. Hydration thrives the functions that it takes for you to just be alive every day. Hydration, you'll feel it should you not be hydrated. You'll feel that dry. You'll feel like you're hungrier than you really are, because you're lacking hydration. A lot of times we can overeat because our body, the same signal that we receive for hunger is the one we receive for being thirsty. And so if we would address the thirst first, we would find that we might not eat as much as we do, right? It's very important. It plays a very fundamental role in a lot of our functions.
Yes, and I have totally agreed to that, because, you know, I'm finding myself thirsty all the time. And I'm like, why am I so thirsty? I'm a coffee drinker. Y'all, and I know I need to lay back on the coffee, but that's like one of the first things that I have to have in the morning, like most Americans. is to have that kick,
That kick,
you know, to start their day. But it's most important to have that water. And this is good to know because it really reduces, you know, all that hunger that we often have during the day because we're always munching. We're feeling the need to always
cravings
munch.
And all that.
Exactly.
Yes. Being hydrated will aid in that. Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So one last question, which is towards what you're going to be doing. You're going to be doing a presentation, and we want her to do this presentation. Listen, she's going to give us all the information that you're going to need, and this is going to be so helpful. So my final question for you before we go into it is our energy level. Our energy level is so low, Tekesha.
Yes.
Why is this, and what should we do to increase it?
Yes. So this is a big thing, especially in our country. We thrive off of caffeine and energy supplements and energy drinks, and everyone is so tired and everyone's so moody and we're lacking energy. But we have to take a look at what are we putting in our body, because the fact of the matter is our body has been perfectly designed for us to have regulated energy throughout the day, and us thriving on these external substances is actually hurting us because of what's in them. So we have to look at what we're putting in our body. And for us to get back to how our body is actually designed to carry our energy throughout the day, we have to then filter out the things that are in our system, right? We've got to get rid of the stuff that's harming us, get it out of our system, and start putting in things that make our original creation design properly function, okay? So we got to get back to how our body can thrive on its own instead of thriving off of things that are actually hurting us. And making us be dependent on it.
And we need to take control over what we put into our body.
Exactly.
Because basically, you know, God is the temple.
This is the temple of the living God. Yes.
And he wants us to take care of it.
We have to take care of it because our body can do amazing things and we're in charge of it. So a lot of times we're actually hurting ourselves versus helping ourselves because we're not playing towards the strengths that it already has.
Wow. This is great, y'all. Great information that our expert Takisha Williams have brought. Listen, you tune in. Takisha Williams is going to be one of the experts that's going to be speaking at the Peace, Love, Judah Jam Festival that is going to be held on September 10th. Listen, stay tuned. She is going to give us a presentation, and we thank you, Takisha Williams, so much for giving us a valuable, resourceful information that our viewers needed to hear. We thank you for answering those questions that, you know, that was so informative that we need to take in. Thank you so much. And thank you, everyone who has been tuning in on this special edition of Reflections TV COVID series, sponsored by the Peace, Love, Judah Jam Festival. Like I said, tune in on next month where we're going to have financial expert Shay Lawson on. And this is Pastor Shirley Hood, and you all have a blessed day.
Thank you for joining us today on Reflections TV in our Health After COVID series. So I'm your Kingdom Life and Health coach, your nutrition expert for today, Tekesha Williams, and we are going to discuss the holistic approach to eating and nutrition after COVID. So today's points, we're going to talk about getting back to basics. What is actually healthy? Understanding macronutrients. We're going to talk about sugar today, and we're going to talk about, so then what should we actually eat? All right. So getting back to basics, what is healthy? In lieu of nutrition trends, popular diets, the best way to get healthy after COVID is to gain an understanding of the basics. What does food actually do in our body? What are the priorities when it comes to taking care of ourselves through eating, right? Because really the same things that were healthy before COVID are what's healthy now. But we have an adjustment because the world is shaken and awakened to doing things differently now that we've experienced such a drastic change in the world and in society. So what I really want you to think about is that what's healthy for one person is not necessarily healthy for everybody, okay? What is healthy for you would be determined by what your goal is and if what you're doing helps you reach that goal or it takes you further away from that goal. So what this means is you determine what's healthy for you based on results that you're getting over time. Our bodies, they are very specifically designed. They can perform wondrous things, but at a basic level, our bodies do seek to maintain balance. They want to survive, and our bodies want for every single part and every single organ, every portion, they want each part to play its role so that the entire thing can survive. So what is very key to understand then is a topic of macronutrients. And before we dive into that, because I know I just threw something big there at you, but before we dive into that, let's talk about diet and nutrition first, okay? The word diet, it actually just means what you eat. So you could be on a McDonald's diet because all you eat is McDonald's, or you could be on the orange soda diet if all you take in is orange soda. Okay, so diet is really just what you actually eat. But nutrition in comparison is literally like the process of food coming from its source, whether it's like the farm or wherever it's produced, going to the store, you buying it from the store and it getting onto your table and then into your mouth and into your body. So nutrition is all of that. And when you think about that, then nutrition really can be affected by so much. It's affected by our social life, right? Where we go, what we do when we eat. Are we eating as a family? Are we eating when we go out for events, right? Nutrition is affected by the economy. It's affected by politics. It's affected by so much. So real quick again, before we get into the macronutrients, there's one more thing that we would talk about, and that's about energy, right? Everything that we do, it takes energy to do it. So me blinking my eyes right now, that requires energy. Me moving my hands, how you see me moving them, that requires energy. And how we normally measure energy for our body is calories or kilocalories. Calories is the unit of measure we assign to the energy that we put in our body and the energy we expend from our body. So major nutrients, aka macronutrients, they supply that energy. So we're going to move on and we're going to talk about that. So understanding macronutrients. We have macronutrients and we have micronutrients. And micronutrients, which suggested by the name means that they're micro, they're small. We take them in small amounts, or we only need small amounts in our body. They come from vitamins, minerals, phytonutrients, which means plant nutrients. And because we take them in such small amounts or trace amounts, they don't have a calorie count assigned to them. So what I'm saying is they don't give us a huge source of our energy, but they give us nutrients that we do need to function. So then on the other hand, macronutrients, meaning large or big, we take those in, we need them in much larger amounts. And they do have a calorie count associated with them because they provide us with the energy that we need to survive. And so macronutrients are typically broken down into proteins, fats, and carbohydrates, with carbohydrates having like a few categories under them. And I'm pretty sure that most of the world at this point is familiar with hearing about protein and hearing about fat, hearing about carbs. So those are the three macronutrients that source our body with energy. And again, because of that, they have calories assigned to them. So we'll move on to understanding each one individually. So protein by itself, You guys hear about protein all the time. You hear about protein when it comes to like people in fitness and like the gym, or when it comes to muscle, but you should understand more than just that about protein. Protein, when you think about it from now on, I want you to think about it being associated with tissue and structure and growth and repair. All right, so protein, if you eat 1 gram of protein, it gives you 4 calories of energy. And when I was saying that it's important for tissue and structure and growth and repair, is because there's more than just muscle tissue. Tissue is a part of like every part of your body. Your largest organ, which is your skin, which is on the outside, right? It's the barrier between the inside of you and the external world. That is made up of cells and tissue. And if protein is important for that, then that means that it's playing a very vital role in maintaining a lot of things about your body. So protein is also important for cell structure. And there are things called amino acids that in different combinations, they make up a protein. So I want to say a basic protein that a lot of us hear about is like one for hair, keratin. That is a protein. When we say that protein is important for structure and that amino acids in their combination make up a strand of a protein, let's think about hair for a second. So a lot of us style our hair. We'll go from curly to straight or straight to curly. And normally how we go from this curly to straight state is we apply heat to our hair to make it straighten out. When you're doing that, literally, you're performing chemistry on your hair. Heat is a chemical reaction. You're performing a heat or chemical reaction to the protein structure of your hair. So when you apply that heat, it denatures the protein, and that's essentially what makes the hair strand straighten out. And I bet you never thought about protein in that way, right? As being part of structure or being part of growth and tissue and repair. But I want you to think about it that specifically, that when you're taking in protein, you are aiding your body maintaining its structure. So these amino acids that make up protein strands, they actually also regulate hormones. Proteins itself become a very, very backup source for energy in our body when the main source that our body likes to get energy from is no longer available. So let's talk about those 2 main sources that we like to get energy from. And we're going to start talking about fat, which is our next macronutrient. Every time you eat 1 gram of fat, you're really getting in 9 calories of energy. And fat in its structure, it's a substance that does not like to be dissolved by water. It's resistant, okay? And so because of this, it has a high density energy source, which is why it has 9 calories assigned to it instead of 4, all right? So fats in our body, they actually maintain and protect our cell membranes. This is so important because there's cells in every single part of our body, and these fats, they protect what protects the cell. So fat in our body is providing cushion for our organs. It's insulating our body. And fats create vitamin D, and they create hormones. And hormones are important because hormones tell our body to do a lot of things. So let's move on to carbohydrates, or like the world knows them as carbs. Carbs, there's 3 types of them. There's simple carbs, there's complex carbs, and then there's fiber. And we hear about fiber all the time, but people don't typically associate fiber as being a carb, right? But it is, all right? So carbs, when you eat 1 gram of this, it gives you 4 calories of energy. So very similar to protein, it gives you 4 calories of energy, but carbohydrates are so important because they're the main energy source that our body likes to use. Now, we trick this up a little bit because we like to eat carbs in the simple state. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. But Carbs are the main source of energy for the body. Their chemical structure is what gives them the name, being simple or complex, okay? Because simple carbohydrates means that it's a very simple structure. It means that it only has like 1 or 2 units of sugar in its structure. And so what that means is that when it goes into our body breaks it down pretty quickly because it's simple, it's small. Complex carbohydrates have a complex structure. They're made up of much longer units of sugar, and their structure itself is complex. It's not so easily broken down, and that's why it gets the name of being a complex carbohydrate. This structure, right, would be one that our body would prefer because it would put us in a more regulated state of energy or a regulated amount of sugar in our blood. Fiber, the last type of carb, it doesn't have any calories assigned to it, and it's not digested, but it's an agent that helps to move food through our digestive tract. So it's very important, right? Because we don't want stuff staying gunked up in there. So we're going to move on then to understanding why these macronutrients are so important. Because you heard me say things about like protein being associated with tissue and structure. You heard me say things about fat being associated with our hormones, and you heard me say that carbohydrates, simple or complex, being associated with sugar and the energy source that our body likes to thrive off of. So we're going to talk then about sugar. So what is blood sugar, and why is it important for you to keep it balanced? Blood sugar can be thought of as the concentration of glucose in your blood. And glucose is the body's preferred main energy source. It's important for us to keep blood sugar balanced because if there's too much of it or too little of it in our blood, either end of the spectrum will trigger a response in your body. Food turns into sugar in the blood through the process of digestion. And digestion is way more than just after you chewed food, your stomach breaks it down. It's more than that. When your eyes see food, right, sometimes depending on if you're in a state of being hungry, the moment your eyes see food, your body starts preparing to take it in because your brain will start saying, hey, release the hormone that says you're hungry. All right, so digestion starts from the moment that your body is releasing hormones to say, feed me, and your eyes are seeing something to eat. So from the eyes seeing food to food passing through your stomach, there are a series of hormones, enzymes, and actions that all take place from you taking the food into your mouth to it getting down to your stomach. There's a series of things that take place for your food to be broken down. And then further for you to absorb the nutrients from it. So before food leaves your stomach, the process of digestion has brought food from being a solid, or if you had soup, then it's a liquid, but it takes your food from the state that you put it in your mouth to being a liquid called chyme in your stomach. And so before it leaves your stomach, it is a liquid. And then that liquid further gets broken down and absorbed, and glucose is absorbed through the walls of the small intestine. So that liquid leaves your stomach, starts traveling down to your small intestine, and your intestine absorbs the glucose and puts it into your blood. This is so important because your blood plays the significant role of carrying the nutrients that your body needs in every single part, to your kidneys, to your liver, to every part. Your blood puts it in the place it's supposed to go. So this is very important about glucose being in your bloodstream. All right, so we're gonna move on and talk about the next thing about why blood sugar is so important. So your ability to utilize blood sugar is determined in very large part by the hormone insulin. And this is where fat and protein come in, right? Because protein, those amino acids that make up protein, they regulate your hormones. But fat actually produces hormones, all right? And so they all play a part with each other, proteins, fats, and carbs. Now, when we're talking about your sugar being in your blood, here come protein and fat to play their role, because the hormone insulin is what's going to play the biggest part in how we're going to use the sugar that's now in your blood. When your sugar levels are increased in your blood, insulin is released. The hormone insulin is released, and it's going to act like a key where whichever body part needs it, right? It's going to try to get the sugar to those systems. It's going to get the sugar to those places. It's going to get it out of the blood and to where it needs to go. So with glucose being the body's preferred energy source, insulin's going to try to get it to where it needs to go. And this process is called the process of glycolysis, where glucose is changed into energy to the places that it needs to go. It's called glycolysis. So today, what we have to be very aware of, especially because COVID did such a good job at shaking up the world, but it also woke us up where we're now open, right? We're now open to increasing the quality of our lives. We're now open to trying new things, right? Because things that were stable for us, they're not stable anymore. And so now we're open, okay? And we're open to learning the reality about what it takes for our immune systems to be built up, right? Because we learned that COVID affected a lot of people who maybe their immune systems were broken down. COVID affected our budgets with food. A lot of people who were maybe in moderate or to low income households, they were supplemented from the government, right? With checks, with food benefits. And so we experienced a lot of extremes during COVID of people either losing a lot of weight during COVID or gaining a lot of weight during COVID. And now we're back in this place where we're like, okay, this serious change happened, but we want to get things back on track. So what do I need to do different? What do I need to learn, right? COVID really opened us up to that. And so something that we need to be very aware of, it's always been happening, but we need to be more aware of it now, is that sugar dominates our food supply in this country. It's in everything. It's in crackers. It's in soda. It's in cakes. It's in bread. It's in ketchup, juice, salad dressing, tomato sauce, gum. It's even in some of your toothpaste. Like, it's everywhere. And so one of the most harmful forms of sugar is the basic sugar that we're all very familiar with, right? White table sugar, or its chemical name, right? Sucrose. And that is important because you would find that on the back of a package in the ingredients list. If sugar or sucrose is high up on the ingredients list, that means there's a lot of it in there, and you probably want to avoid that product. So this white table sugar that we're very familiar with, it's refined sugar, or the one that comes from sugarcane or sugar beets, or the sugar beet plant. So we'll move on and we'll talk about what happens when you're putting that type of sugar in your body, right? Because we talked about glucose being the type of sugar that your body prefers, but sucrose is different. So what happens when you put sucrose in your body? This sugar is in a form that it no longer contains any nutritional benefit. It has been chemically altered and broken down that there are no vitamins, there are no minerals, there is no fiber, there's none of that in it anymore. So when you put it in your body thinks that you gave it something and it can pull vitamins and minerals from it and put it where it needs to go, but really you didn't. And so when your body realizes that, it goes to its reserves to then give it what it needs. And okay, so we can talk about this like a savings account. When there's nothing in the checking, right? You go to your emergency fund and you pull it out of there. But if you pull it out, then you drop the balance. And if you don't ever put anything back in, the balance remains low. And so you need to think about it that way. If you put in things in your body that don't give you any nutritional benefit, your body breaks down itself. It pulls from itself to give what it needs. And if you don't ever replenish that, then you are in a state of your body being compromised and being broken down. So some physiological complications that can happen from us not maintaining a regulated blood sugar is we need to know that your brain, it runs on glucose. And so you can create like up and down cycles of energy. We talked about that earlier in the show. You can create cycles of your mood being up and down. If your body's not getting the nutrients it needs because you have an increase of sucrose or a poor form of sugar in your blood, then it's creating a whole load of complications. So really quick, we'll just talk about like kind of the roller coaster that happens, because a lot of us know that sometimes we have sweet cravings, but then we feel sleepy after if we eat it. I think we've all experienced that, where we eat certain things and it makes us tired, but then we still crave it and we want it again. That is the blood sugar roller coaster that you're experiencing, where you put something in your body, it doesn't have enough nutritional value, so your body pulls from itself, right? And then your body now recognizes, right, that it wants this thing because you tricked yourself into thinking you were giving yourself something. Okay, so then it creates an addiction, it creates an up and down. All right, and so the cycle will continue to happen as long as you keep eating things that don't provide you with any value. So we're moving forward, right? And when I talked about the body pulling from its own reserves to give it vitamins and minerals, what I mean is that every time you're eating, right, these foods that don't have any nutritional value, it breaks down parts of your body. And what happens ultimately is that your body gets into addictions, it gets into imbalance, and it starts breaking down like your tissues, your teeth, all of these things. It also fuels disease and serious health conditions that we're very familiar with in this country: obesity, diabetes, ADD, ADHD. Some symptoms that you might be familiar with or have experienced could be brain fog, mood swings, cravings, sweating, lightheadedness, dizziness, difficulty concentrating, being extra thirsty, or having some headaches when you do eat or when you try to stop eating things that are high in sugar. So what we should eat, what we need to know as far as the nutrition in America, is that a lot of things, right, affect nutrition. And one of those things is absolutely the economics of this country. We are a consumer population. Therefore, our food culture in this country is heavily motivated by money, by what's going to put more money back into the economy. Therefore, our food system in America has done a very good job at giving us very poor quality food and charging us a lot of money for it. So then we're getting sick, we're getting fat, or we're getting unhealthy in any way, right? We're becoming unhealthy and unbalanced and struggling with these things, which then puts money into healthcare, because now we're paying to be cured of these illnesses and these sicknesses and these overweights or underweight conditions, okay? And so I want us to just wake up to that you actually have the power to change this, because consumerism is driven by your dollars. It's driven by your choices. And so if you decide today that you want to be healthy and you want to make a change in your eating, then please know that how the government and marketing and all that gives us food and drives us towards food that's high in sugar, you can change that by making choices to eat whole foods instead of processed foods. And so real quick, I'll share that, and then we're going to be wrapping up. But the difference between processed foods and whole foods is processed foods, they're high in sodium, they're high in sugar, they have a lot of artificial things to them, whereas whole foods are foods that are the closest to their natural state as possible. So you want to be eating things like potatoes that actually came from the ground instead of the potatoes that you get in the box, you know, that kind of thing. And then just one last thing to address is for you to think about, what should I be eating now? Yes, try to stick to things that are whole and as natural as possible, but try to go local and organic as well. maintain a balance of your macronutrients so that it creates that balance in your blood, and address your needs instead of trying to change everything all at once. Make a small change and just keep showing up every day with a consistent effort. And over time, you'll be able to adjust eating well for you and your family. It'll fit into your budget when you start with one thing and you build it over time, and you just seek to maintain the balance. So I thank you for your time today, and thank you for joining us on today's series.